the throat.
Welcome to Immediate Review, where we can't see movies in theaters, but we still review them immediately at Dakota's house. We just saw The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug.
So yeah, you guys. Okay, so we're gonna do general thoughts first, then go through the movie, talk about what we think of it, scene by scene, and then address general criticisms at the end. Hopefully, because last time we said that and we never got to it. All right. So, you guys go first.
Okay. I fucking love this movie. I felt like a lot of the extended edition that we watched today, I forgot about, and so it was super refreshing to just kind of get a pseudo new experience and kind of continue along with a bunch of stuff. It answered a bunch of shit about the missing dwarven ring and all sorts of different stuff that I hadn't picked up on any of the times that I've watched it. So super excited to watch it. And yeah, it's so well paced and such a good movie. It just flies by, and every bit is entertaining. It's definitely my favorite out of this trilogy.
Oh, without
sure.
a doubt.
Tons of fun. Benedict Cumberbatch just does an amazing job voice acting and motion capturing Smaug. And Legolas has this visceral, kind of gritty feel to him. He's just a hardcore, just fuck everybody and killing machine. And it's awesome. I love this movie.
Manson?
I really like this movie as well. From the get-go, they really shifted into second gear. They established everything in the first movie, and so now things are progressing. I really like the way they cut it into 3 segments there. It makes much more sense, I think. And everything has enough time to happen without feeling rushed. All the characters you see more of the dwarves, and get to know them better, and you get to see more Bilbo starting to kick ass, and I think it's a great movie.
I mean, yeah, that's why we're reviewing these movies. This Desolation of Smaug, it's so great. Every time I watch this trilogy, I always just so look forward to this one. I mean, the last movie when it just ends on the eye, and though it is interesting, I think this movie has more flaws than the first one, but I still like this one more. I think it's because it takes it in new territory. The first one, most of the places we see are just different areas of places we've already been, where this one, every location we go to is completely new. Hasn't before been seen in a movie. Mirkwood, Lake Town. We get more of the Lonely Mountain, not just brief glimpses. And inside the tomb, I mean, it's just I think that's what pushes it over for me. And Smaug is just, it really is, the whole movie builds up to it, and once it gets to it, it's fucking fantastic. Smaug is so good. Blows me away every time. But rereading the book recently and watching it now, there are some more there are a few things I noticed that I've never noticed before, and a couple things I think work better in the book. We'll get into that.
Oh shit!
No, yeah. I mean, there are plenty of things I don't like about these movies. Not too many though.
All right, so start of the movie.
All right, so because I read the book and stuff, and last time I started and then you guys went, I'm gonna not try not to influence you with any book knowledge and just let you both go what you think of it, and then I'm gonna say the changes I like. So, the introduction scene, the meeting in Bree.
Yes. So meeting in Bree, I love this scene, and yeah, the extended edition had a lot more. It kind of jumps right into talking about Thrain, what happened at the Battle for Moria, and we get some cool flashbacks there that kind of see some different perspectives that kind of mirror some additional perspectives we get later in the movie. But yeah, they communicate that he didn't disappear until he had been given the ring right before the battle, and then the battle starts, and by the end of it, he disappears. And it's like, yeah, they definitely did
before he
something.
gave Azog the ring, or Azog took it.
Yeah, it's just it's a really good scene with Gandalf and Thorin, and really just sets the. And it's interesting too because it's happening at the beginning of the second movie, but it kind of shows how Gandalf influences Thorin to go on the quest in the first place when he hadn't. We're at the beginning of the second movie, and we know that they're going on the quest and why they're doing it. It's perfectly established in Unexpected Journey.
Yeah.
And in this one, we get just a little bit more context that isn't needed, but is so nice to have, and just kind of broadens the world, which Peter Jackson is notorious for doing in this. Just giving it, just opening the door just a little bit more, just giving it a little more light.
Peter Jackson, Philippa Boyens, Fran Walsh, and Guillermo del Toro, they all wrote the screenplays, so they killed it, in my opinion.
I agree.
Yeah.
Mampton, what do you think of this scene?
From what I remember, it's pretty good. I showed up a little late, so...
That's true.
Still, he's seen it before.
He's a hard-working man.
These things happen. Everything that Peter was just saying, it starts with showing you background information that it kind of like eases you back into the story.
Eases you back into the story is a good way to put it, because like what's unique about this sequence. By the way, this scene is it's from the appendices of Lord of the Rings. This scene is in it. It's like, can't remember, 5 or 6 pages long, maybe a few less. And it's also in Unfinished Tales, an alternate version of the scene. And so I really loved seeing it kick off Desolation the first time I saw it. But what's unique about this scene is Lord of the Rings movies, they're always known for their like big, huge, epic openings, or like exciting openings. Like Peter Jackson always relates it to James Bond films. He always wants like a big, exciting opening, the prologue of both the first films, the Balrog scene, Gollum, Schmeagol killing Deagle and all that. And then this one's just like conversation at a bar, and they meet, and we get to see Bree. The Bree set is magnificent. They built it so they could do a tracking shot through the entire street and then actually go into the building and stuff. And yeah, it's a fantastic scene. It's a great addition. Honestly though, so in the extended cut, it elaborates on the dwarf ring. I honestly don't really dig when it flashes back to the battle too much. When it shows him and his dad talking, that's not too bad. But it's just one of those things where, first of all, it's like a cliche I hate when we see like previous footage. But I guess, at that point it had been a year. Some people needed to be reminded.
Yeah, it's like Matt said,
although it is the extended cut, if you buy that, you probably have seen the first.
That's true.
But also, it kind of, like I was saying, how the scene is just a very nice conversation. It's a little bit, not totally, but a little bit broken when we cut to epic battle scenes we've seen already.
I kind of viewed it as like,
like I said,
him
a little
kind of
bit.
walking through like traumatic memory type thing.
No,
just like relives it or whatever. But yeah,
it's not horrible. It's just like I was literally thinking in my head like, oh, I'm so glad there are no battle sequences in the beginning, and then it like cuts to the flashback of one we've seen. But that's kind of my little nitpick on that scene.
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, other than that, I fucking love that sequence. Beorn.
Beorn.
I talked.
Beorn.
Yeah, I'll go last.
Okay, so I love the little introduction that we get. So we kind of get reintroduced back to the group, and we kind of have this like little interaction where the dwarves are talking over Bilbo, and Bilbo's like, "No, like I saw something. What's good? Like people let the fucking listen to me." And they're just going off, and it's just like, "No, I saw something," and it's just like, "Oh, did you see something? It's the shape of a bear." And it's like, "Oh yeah, it was." And it's like, "Oh," and it's just kind of this crazy sprint like to the house while like immediately they're getting chased. They get to the house. It's the design for the house is amazing.
It is. The production design is fantastic.
It's really, really good. And then when he finally becomes his I don't want to say human form, but his like more humanoid form, I guess.
Yeah, it's human. Might as well. Yeah.
Less bestial.
When I like he's got facial hair like out here and out here, but none on his chin. It's
Looks
super
like Sonic.
unique, and
Yeah,
I love his conversation style as well. Of just like, "Oh, at your service. I do not want your service." Just very matter of fact, and responds like directly to the specific words that you're saying, and is very like direct. I thought that was super funny. And
He's full a troop.
yeah, and it's just it's super good, and I love the way it ends. It's just like because I every time I watch it, I'm always just like, man, like why does he agree to like help? They're always just like, yeah, he hates dwarves, and it's just like, oh yeah, I hate orcs more. And it's like it makes perfect sense. Excellent. So yeah, Mantle.
Yeah, he's a he's a great character. Whether he's in his great bear form or if he's in his humanoid form, he's just always bestial and very rugged and just like a bear, he just kind of does what he wants to do, and if you're in his way, he's probably going to go through you, is the general consensus. And his house is just huge, even by human standards. Gandalf is
the duck.
Gandalf is like at least a head shorter than him the whole time, and just the amount of work that the filmmakers had to do to make the different sizes for everybody to make it look awesome on screen. It's just phenomenal.
They literally had to mathematically calculate the height differences between everyone and like composite them in, and the compositing in Beorn's head is really, really good.
Definitely. His eyes are very striking. They look very wolfish, but totally cool character and awesome to see on screen.
Changes that I do like for Beorn is I like how Beorn has influence on the whole political plot of the whole trilogy. Like he talks about how he's been seeing like scouts in from Dol Guldur, and he's reading the signs and piecing things together, and he has like Middle Earth discussions with Gandalf. So I really like the addition of kind of I don't know, they elevate him more from like just a hermit bear guy to like one of the important keepers of Middle Earth. And I really like that. Let's see. Yeah, in the book right here, Gandalf tells the hobbits that he's going to leave them on the borders of Mirkwood. Once they get here, he's like, just so you know, I want to leave you on the borders of Mirkwood. Like that they removed that, and that they made it a sudden decision in Mirkwood.
Yes, I really like that change when they got there, and he like sees everything, and we get Galadriel speaking, and he's like, "All right, I gotta go."
Oh yeah, in the book, it's in Gandalf's plan the whole time. It's like, yes, this is where I leave you to go in the dark forest alone.
You may be cursed, so stay on the path or you'll die. Don't touch the water.
Beorn's chase, great little sequence, all shot on location. Mostly, there are a couple scenes, but most of them just wonderful shots of New Zealand, and Beorn looks just like this. I don't know. It's such a creative, like, he's bear-like. He's not a bear, but he's like a bear-like.
It's like a dire
creature.
bear.
He's like an uber bear. Like, I don't know.
Uber bear.
But
like a prehistoric bear or something.
It's a fucking uber bear.
And one scene I really, really love is Bilbo at night, just like looking at the ring and kind of admiring it. And
it's starting to sink its claws into the
yeah. He's starting to get obsessed with the ring and just looks at it. But you know, overall, I was thinking about it, and I think it's a wee bit better in the books. And a lot of people, you know, at first, I remember when this came out, a lot of people really hated the way they handled Beorn, and I didn't really understand at all, even as a fan of the books. Like, I was like, yeah, it's different, but I think it's still really great. But, so basically, and I'll explain what happens in the book. In the book, it's much more peaceful. They're basically like, we don't know if he's going to help us or not. And they go to his door, and Gandalf warns them that they can't all show up, so they do the, 2x2 gag. And they tell Beorn what happened, and, Beorn does kind of dislike dwarves. And then Beorn doesn't believe them. And so they ask if they can stay, and Beorn agrees and allows them to stay. And so the difference in the book, though, is Beorn, when he transforms into a bear, has full control. And in the movie, they specifically say the bear can be...
he's unpredictable.
Yeah.
Or yeah.
And so, basically Beorn has full control of his powers, and that night he turns to a bear, heads out to the mountains, checks things out, to see if their story is true, finds, wog bodies and stuff. It doesn't fully detail it, it's just he says that. And there's like a weird bear dance too, I can understand why they left that out.
What the fuck?
No bear dance, 0 out of 10.
But and then he comes back and he's like, oh, you guys are badass and on a quest. Okay, here you guys go, I'll help you out. And he feeds them and stuff. It's just the whole, like, I could see why people don't like it. This peaceful, like, creature of... He's kind of supposed to be, like, a creature of Earth who can fuck shit up if he needs to. So I can understand why people didn't like that it just starts instantly with an action scene, and then they kind of crash and then ask for forgiveness later. And, I now understand why people don't like that. But it doesn't make me hate the movie any less. And it definitely made me love that chapter in the book more. But, that is, it's my thoughts on Beorn. Overall, I love that whole scene. It's, fan-fucking-tastic. Alright, chapter, Flies and Spiders. So this is when they're getting to Mirkwood.
Okay, so at this point there's been a decent amount of extended edition, and there's a lot in this as well. Like them, I think trying to cross the bridge is from the extended edition. Right?
Yeah, for all the vines.
Yeah, all the water, the stuff about the water was extended, and it's done really well. Like this is really where we see like. And it's interesting because I commented in the Rankin and Bass Hobbit that Bilbo kind of takes, when they get to Mirkwood, a kind of like leadership position and whatnot, and then like when they get to the Battle of the Five Armies, it's like he it's just like a little baby boy again, and like that whole arc just like didn't happen. And this one they kind of do that same thing, but it's not like Bilbo's like in charge. It's more just like he proves himself.
Yeah,
like we get this
exactly.
like because when he like first gets wrapped up by the spiders, and that spider's over him and is like gonna either wrap him up or eat him or whatever, and his sword like goes straight up through the webbing. It's like there's some force there, and like he like legitimately fucks up these spiders, and like the way that he names the sword, I loved it. Like I commented in in our Rankin and Bass review that like the way he names Sting is so stupid.
So I think what you're saying is that actually made you love these versions more.
Yeah, like, you know, it was just like, I don't know, just like he literally just like Sting, like that's how he names Sting in the Rankin and Bass, and like this one is just, I don't know, done so much fucking better. And yeah, faithful adaptation, my ass.
I mean, it's Mampton.
Spiders. These things were huge spiders, and suspending your disbelief on how big these things would have to get. Anyway,
It's magic.
magic spiders. I really like the attention to detail when Bilbo uses the ring and he can hear them speaking, and how their voice is very cracky and creaky.
Yes, they talk normal in the book. They can just talk, and they do that in the animated version as well. And in this, he has to put on the ring.
Yeah, I love.
then
I
he
like
hears
that.
Yeah,
that
great
addition.
change.
Yeah. It's like
And going with what you said about him naming his sword, I think it was foreshadowed in the one that we in An Unexpected Journey. I believe what it was. Balin says is like, I don't believe that it has a name. They're named for great deeds that they do in battle.
Oh, you're right.
And so that was like the culmination. He was like, oh, and he heard the spider say Sting, so he's like, Sting,
yeah,
Sting.
it stings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
like,
a great little like origin story for the weapon that continues through the story.
It is. Martin Freeman just like, good name, talking to his sword. He's so fucking good as Bilbo. Like, it's ridiculously entertaining, and yeah.
And when he talks to Gandalf, where he's about to tell him about the ring, he's like, nope. I was just see that that seems like a very Martin Freeman type style of character.
So this chapter actually is everything up to them getting kidnapped. So yeah, what do you have to say about everything up to the spider fight? And stuff?
So I love when he when he's basically done fighting the spiders, but he loses the ring. The ring's falling down onto the forest floor.
Aside from Smaug, that is my absolute favorite scene in the whole movie.
Right. And
amazing.
It genuinely shows this like just ferocity that he has, like just deeply ingrained building inside of him, that he's completely unaware of, and just this just fierce like jealousy and envy that's just wrapped around like just the idea of a creature that isn't even intentionally trying to put it on, maybe put it on, is like enough to send him into a blind rage to fucking murder this thing. And it's like he realizes it at the end. It's like he has this moment where he's like, oh my god, what did I do? But at the same time, it's like he feels justified in that ferocity because it's to protect this thing that he needs to keep.
He gets distracted by the spiders as well.
Yeah, I was just going to say it further shows the corruption of the Greenwood into Mirkwood, and kind of reflects on the elves a little bit, because like they said, these elves are a little bit more edgy. You can tell that right off the get-go. They have an in-your-face interface, and that's much to the contrary of the elves that we've seen so far in the story.
No, yeah, as Baron puts it, they're less wise and more dangerous.
That's true. And yeah, just I'll comment on the kind of hallucination sequence too. Editing is excellent.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of like tough to comment on like the cinematography and like lighting and stuff like that.
I love the choice of color grading and tone they went with in Mirkwood. I never expected them to go with gray. Like, there are so many scenes where the whole forest is just this like unsettling gray. And it works so well. Just it's one of those things. Some people get disappointed when what they pictured in their head isn't what they see, and just I just always pictured your average creepy forest, but this Peter Jackson even jokes that, you know, it's really hard coming up with another spooky forest because he's done them so many times, and he did it. He raised himself. Sorry, I'm talking. You two go on.
Oh, I was gonna say, didn't in the behind the scenes, didn't they? It was like very vibrantly colored, and they muted the colors.
Yeah, exactly. They purposefully like brightened the colors in real life, so when so when you watch the behind the scenes footage, Mirkwood looks like this psychedelic forest. So they could get the right tones they wanted when they completely pulled color out. It's fucking brilliant. Like, it's yeah.
Yeah, heartless cash grab.
What do you guys think of Legolas and Tauriel? A point of contention among some fans. Do not like that Legolas is involved. Do not like that Tauriel was created. What do you think?
I have no.
You're like, I don't give a fuck what you Tolkien nerds have to say.
It's like previous references are just like, oh, why was Legolas there? I don't have any reason why he shouldn't be there, but it makes me mad. It's like, no, I haven't read the books.
People think it was to like get asses in seats, like put
needs to be
Orlando
a little
Bloom
bit
in
of
it,
fan
and then
service.
people will come see the movie. What's that?
So there needs to be a little bit of fan service.
I mean, let's just admit it. You know, sex sells. Orlando Bloom's hot, and yeah, that's why he's in it. Like, just accept it, and like, you know, you want to see his sexy body slicing up some orcs.
You know why he's in it? Because his dad is the king, and like, I far prefer putting Legolas in the movie as opposed to like. You gotta explain where Legolas is, so it's like, oh, my son Legolas, he's off doing something, so he can't be in this movie. Like, that would be lame. It'd be like, I don't know, but Mampton, what do you think of Legolas return from Lord of the Rings?
You know, it's a welcome return. It's you know, with everything that's different, it's cool to see, you know, somebody that the audience knows, and I mean, it's not like he's overplayed. He's in there. He's not stealing the show necessarily, but he gets a fair amount of screen time. And I think they represent the character pretty well in an area where the character is less developed and a little bit more brash.
It's true. I didn't expect that take on the character, and yeah, I do think it's really good. I like it more and more every time I see it.
He's very visceral and raw and like murdery.
So, Tauriel, what do you guys think of Tauriel and her and Keely's relationship?
Okay, so, I mean, yeah,
it's the least favorite plot thread.
It's one of the things, like, it's not like it's my least favorite, it's just like, I like the whole, you know, relationship building dynamic. Like the only thing that's interesting to me is like the culture clash, you know, of kind of the taboo nature of like elves hate dwarves, but these two are kind of like, how you doing? But that's like the only semblance.
They don't overdo it. The movie's 3 hours long, and maybe 4.5, 5, 6 minutes is devoted to that.
Yeah, like, you know, and so, you know, the whole relationship building is like, you know, I enjoyed it in Lord of the Rings with Aragorn and Arwen, but
which was not really in terms of the love triangle between Aragorn, Arwen, and Eowyn was not in the book.
Okay.
Yeah, all that flashback stuff and whatnot.
But
so they both included like love triangles that weren't necessarily in the book.
But yeah, it wasn't really just not really super interested, and the whole, you know, Morgul wound that he gets and the curing of that we already see Arwen do in Fellowship, and so like and I honestly think that she did it better. And so it kind of like the whole scene is supposed to have this kind of like, oh, she's glowing, and like, you know, he's like seeing how angelic she is, and then they're like gonna be in love or whatever. And it's kind of just like, I've already seen this happen. It happened with Frodo. He saw her glowing and stuff, and he's not in love with her at all. It's like all of this is just kind of like, you know, whatever to me.
Yeah.
and yeah, just basic, just like relationship stuff is like it's just like it's a dwarf and an elf getting in a relationship. Like I don't fucking care. Like in all honesty, I don't like.
Manton?
I mean, that sounds like something you'd have to pay extra to see, but
I mean, Matt even said after the gold thing, he was like, they made her look like that because that's what she would look like if you have sex with her. There's something like that. It's just like, yeah, pretty much. Just like,
I mean, it's like a storyline to fill a little bit of time. It doesn't really
a lot of bit of time.
but at the same time, it doesn't really focus. Like you said, it doesn't focus on it like a lot, and it doesn't take away. It's kind of like they'll have little bits where they're where they're panning through. I regret it. I knew that saying that was gonna be whatever. But they'll have these scenes where it like pans through the prison. And it's like they'll talk and they're having this conversation and whatnot, and so it's like it's not emphasized too much. I think there's only like 2 or 3 maybe like actual dialogues that happen at the prison before they leave that actually establishes that there's something there. But even then, it's like,
yeah. There actually originally was a scene in Mirkwood where it's like, oh, I don't think I've ever seen, and they kind of flirt back and forth. And they ended up never even doing the CG for it or anything, and cutting it early. And the actress was like, "Oh, I'm really glad because then it like builds up when we get to the prison part."
Yeah, and it's like I don't care about it, but at the same time, it does kind of give the story a little more of like a realistic feel that like somebody out in the not just having a love story makes it realistic, but just that like. The dwarves who are just kind of like ragtag group of people would like see a hot ass elf and be like, "How you doing?" And like so it does kind of just make it feel more like it actually could possibly happen. But yeah, in terms of like focusing on it or like, oh, I wish they would have delved more into their relationship. It's like, no, you can.
They're gonna pick out swatches at Home Depot.
All right, so Flies and Spiders, one of my favorite chapters from the book, which I think is greatly improved in the movie. For one, the path isn't perfectly straight. In the book, the path is seriously straight. It's a really long straight path, and they don't have much resources. And there's a river that they have to cross. They throw a little fucking rope to grab the boat and drag it across and go, and Bomber passes out. And overall it's the whole forest corruption isn't necessarily a thing in the book. And I think that was a good idea to kind of just disorientate them and make them lose the path. And so in the movie, the path is curving in and out of everywhere. The elf capture, that's a big one. In the book, what happens is the dwarves, they see a light, so they decide to stray off the path. And it's an elf party, and they go to it, and then the elves shut off the light, and they go back, and they try again, and then like on the 3rd time, the elves capture them, and then they're like, "Why did you disturb our feast?" They get captured for disturbing their feast, and so horrible, does not really work at all, and. So I'm glad they changed that. And also originally Thorin gets captured first, and then everyone else gets captured later.
While they try to rescue him or something.
Yeah. And overall, it's just much better in the book. A wee little problem. So in the book at this point, Bilbo tells them about the ring, and tells them that it can turn them invisible. And so it's a little bit of a problem because in the movie, when Thorin is in jail and they're like, "We don't have any hope," and he says something like, "Yes, we do," or something, and he's obviously talking about Bilbo, it's like, I don't know, in the context of knowing Bilbo has the ring, that makes total sense. Like, Thorin would be like, he's invisible, he could sneak in. But, you know, in the context of it's Bilbo, man, why would Thorin expect Bilbo to do anything? I don't know. You know what I mean? It's a little nitpick, but I was thinking about it while reading the book. I was just like, I don't think he tells the dwarves about the ring at all throughout the trilogy,
he doesn't.
which I honestly dig. I dig that he completely keeps it to himself, and
mine.
It more fits like how the ring works and Bilbo in general. Like you know, especially the Bilbo that we are introduced to in the Fellowship movie. You know, there's like he doesn't really want anyone to know about it, and even when Gandalf's like, he must go to Frodo, and he's like, yep, the ring must go to Frodo, and he just like straight up goes to walk out the fucking door, and it's like, Bilbo, the ring's still in your pocket. And it's like, you know, that's very much in line with how he would behave, and yeah, to see that behavior is being ingrained very early in his relationship with the ring is yeah, good to see.
Damn straight. I completely agree. Okay, so Legolas, Tauriel. Oh, we forgot to talk about Thranduil as well. Legolas. I love that Legolas is in this because he should be in it. Even as a teen, I was like, if they make a movie, Legolas has to be in it because his dad is the Elf King. It makes complete sense. Yeah, the father-son dynamic they have is really good. I don't want to go too into it, but watch the movie.
He'll inherit after his dad.
So considering Tauriel and the love triangle, there are a lot of aspects that I really like. Like you were saying, the whole she's an elf, he's a dwarf. Even beyond that, like Tolkien always wrote stories of forbidden love like that. Aragorn and Arwen is one of them, and I don't think Tolkien ever wrote one, correct me if I'm wrong, if anybody knows, ever wrote one with a dwarf and an elf. And so, yeah, they did it, and I think Tolkien really would have actually approved of this one. And there are a lot of little nods I like when he's telling her about the stone, and he's like, the stone, it curses people. It's a nod to the fact that, elves would spread rumors that dwarves curse their stones to prevent people from buying them. And so he fucks with her and is like, oh, this stone's cursed, and that's why she's so freaked out. And it's just like, it's just a really, really, there are a lot of just like hardcore...
You don't curse your stones?
Tolkien details that prove that just like, cursed. The writers know their stuff. And
I think yours are too, right?
Yeah. But yeah, I just think their relationship is pure Tolkien. It doesn't feel like I don't know, like cheap young adult I don't know, fanficky. Okay, when her and Legolas talk, it does though. And she's like, he's taller than for a dwarf, and like, why are you looking at him?
That's pretty high school.
Yeah, that scene sucks.
If you live forever, come on, they probably are just like bored as shit.
But other than that, it really feels like Tolkien, and just like I approve. However, I don't know if it fully paid off in Battle of the Five Armies. What do you guys think of Thranduil, though?
I think he's a bamf, but he's kind of a dick. You know, he's like, he's fought dragons and shit, but he's kind of like lanky.
Oh,
he's always like,
he's pompous too, and just rubs
like
it in your face.
like leaning around. He's got his arms tucked in weird places, but like he's still he's a great actor. Yeah, he's like very like, I don't know, snake like very wavy, bendy. Like he has more vertebrae than we do. But yeah, he's a badass. He's like, I fought fucking dragons, bitch, and showed his ugly face instead of his pretty face. And yeah, it's kind of, I love the little interaction that him and Thorin have, where it's just like, just give me the jewels I want, and I'll help you with whatever. And he's like, oh, fuck you. And yeah, it's just like, okay, well, you're gonna be in jail for a while then. I don't know how long they were in jail in this movie, but I know
long time.
I know in the in the animated one, it was like 2 weeks or something like that.
Yeah,
they were locked up until Bilbo was able to figure out how to free them.
That's one thing I wish the movie did make clear, and like it took Bilbo a while to figure out how to get them the fuck out. And this movie does kind of rush it, but part of that is because this was originally going to be the end of movie 1, so they actually didn't. We'll talk about that later though. But yeah, Mampton, what do you think of the whole Thranduil and Thorin scene and the Elf Kingdom in general? We're on the chapter Barrels Out of the Bonds.
I think his terms were pretty acceptable, and Thorin's kind of a douche.
Yeah.
He's just so stubborn in his pride. Like,
it's all mine.
that's how stubborn he is, and
Thranduil was he was there at when Smaug attacked.
He looked him in the fucking eye.
He looked Thorin in the face and was like, and it was just, you know,
and it's like now that I have something you want, you can help. When we were when we were suffering and dying, and
it's like, but you just gotta accept it. There's two-faced people.
At the end of the day, I'm on your side and on Balin's side too. But I can totally, character-wise, it makes total sense why Thorin would do this.
Right,
it's if your decision making is based on principles, it's like Thorin makes sense. But if your decision making is based on you know, the means meet the are worth the end.
Is the juice worth the squeeze?
Yeah, you know, it's like, do I want to scratch Thranduil's back so that I get what I want, or do I want to get what I want by not doing that?
Yeah,
and he even does have to make compromises in Lake Town. You know, he's just like, oh yeah, I'll give you all the gold you want, even though he's lying. He still has to, like, you know, be willing to say that he's willing to do it, and that's like even something beyond what he was willing to do with Thranduil. So
that's most of what Thranduil wants anyway, is for him to be subservient, to know that he is.
Yep, exactly.
Continue though, yeah.
But I like the character. It shows more of like the darker side of an elf. It kind of shows like the way that Sauron maybe was early in his early days.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, very self-serving, like arrogant.
Because I wouldn't say that this is a good guy. I would say that he's an elf. And he likes nature, but he's not necessarily a good guy. He's more like neutral.
He's like a you know, in the times that they're in, I think that he's a good leader to be under. You know, he's gonna do everything that he can for his kingdom and not compromise with you know, people that it's like, if you're on his side, it would probably be, you know, good to be on it. But even in this situation,
opportunistic.
You know, when they're interrogating the orc after the barrel chase, you know, Legolas is like super surprised when he decides to kill him, and even when he's been promising that he's been willing to free him. So the kind of sadistic behavior that we're seeing is kind of new to. Or at least in that extreme of, you know, basically lying to someone to get information and then murdering them.
Right. It's a really good allusion to religious extremists.
Shots fired.
So yeah, I like the Thranduil's motivation is loosely from the book. It talks about how he loves white gems that are in the necklace or in the mountain. And so they just kind of build on that's kind of his motivation, and his character is based on a old Tolkien character that I guess you could say is like non-canon. I mean, you know, these are stories that predate that term, but I guess that's what you could say. And so they basically adopted Thengil's story of betraying dwarves and wanting gems. And I think it works really well, and him and Thorin have similar goals when you break it down. The barrel escape sequence, I really like that the elves go after them. It makes complete sense. In the book, they did not do that. They just merrily floated down, and, you know, it's totally fine, and the elves never came to Lake Town or anything. And so, it just makes sense that the elves would immediately try to go get them. And it's it just so happens to cross over with the Orc Pursuit. So we get a badass, awesome sequence, part of which is inspired by a deleted sequence from Fellowship of the Ring. In the Fellowship of the Ring book, they get attacked when they're on the river after Lothlorien, and they storyboarded it out and everything. They just never shot it. And so they used those storyboards and kind of repurposed it and included it here. And I think it's a super fun sequence for the middle of the movie. But I'm really glad if the movie was if the story was in 2 movies, this would have been like the final climactic action sequence, and it doesn't deserve that. But yeah, what do you guys think of the barrel sequence?
So I like this sequence. I think it's fun. As we get to basically up until like when when the gate closes and they have to kind of get the gate open in order to continue onward. As it goes down further, it's kind of it gets a little. I'll just say like. Peter Jackson-y, I guess, is the word.
Oh
for
no,
it,
he goes all out on The Hobbit. Like it's in terms of his elaborate sequences. And,
this
he dips his toes in Lord of the Rings, and the most elaborate is definitely Legolas taking down the Mumakil.
Yes.
But on this one, he's like, you know what? Fuck all y'all. I want Oscars. I'm gonna do whatever I want.
Yeah.
Because if you watch his early movies, they're so like elaborate and crazy and improbable and fun. And he definitely, I think people were really off put by how much of that he injected into The Hobbit.
But yeah. So as of that, I think. In terms of like action sequences, I think this is my least favorite in the movie.
I agree.
But it's not terrible, and they do some cool stuff when they start getting weapons and they're throwing weapons back and forth. There's some cool like teamwork stuff that they do there, and yeah. But for the most part, this is the part of the movie that I kind of when it gets to it, it's like okay, cool, we're here. But I'm kind of waiting for it to kind of get through to get to Lake Town and start getting to some more cool stuff.
I agree now, yeah.
It seems like a fun Donkey Kong level.
Damn straight. Especially, yeah.
Again, with the behind-the-scenes stuff, they had real barrel makers make real barrels for them to use on the lazy river.
I think that's part of why I like it too, is watching the behind the scenes and how they shot it. Like it's really nuts. Continue.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like it was a blast to film, just rolling around on a lazy river, floating around in some barrels. It's a barrel of laughs.
Yeah, they sent it. They sent him in a down a real river, and then they put real barrels in like rapids and like filled those in with CGI composites, and then they built like a studio where the barrels could just go around and around and around and around in a circle, and they powered it with a car engine and just could deliver like rapid water in for all the close-ups of when they just get splashed and stuff. And yeah, and then of course there's a bunch of just general CGI sequences layered in, and yeah, it's really crazy how they filmed that whole thing. So yeah,
right, yeah, the CGI sequences they blend up pretty well with the live action. It's not perfect.
It's one of the iffier sequences in the movie. Probably the least impressive.
But it's
CGI
wise, fun, and it's it's especially I bet it's more popular with the younger viewers.
It's more popular with the younger folk.
Yeah, right. Kids don't like
to show dismemberment on TV.
The Hobbit is for fucking nerds. The Hobbit is for people who've played D&D, clocked in Warcraft hours, fucking role-playing games. Like, this is for like people who just, because fantasy is like, it's a desolate genre, man. There are not a lot of just like swords and shield fantasy epics.
Good choice of words there.
What?
Desolate.
But yeah, but we got off topic. What the fuck was I talking about again?
Barrels.
Barrel scene. Yeah.
Barrels.
Do a goddamn barrel roll.
Do a barrel roll.
All right, let's get on with it.
Yeah, barrel roll, barrel scene, fun, little too much CGI. So Dol Guldur, Gandalf's journey to the mountain, meeting up with Radagast, going to Dol Guldur. Let's just lump all of that adventure together. What do you think of Gandalf's entire Dol Guldur journey?
Okay, I like that he goes to the tombs. Love that scene.
I'm gonna get water.
The you know, and kind of having Radagast teleport in. I don't really know how that works, but you know, basically giving us the you know, realization that this is the nine Nazgul, and they've been resurrected, and that yeah, Necromancer is a you know, a more dangerous title than what we originally thought in The Unexpected Journey. And yeah, as they like get to Dol Guldur, and Gandalf is, you know, going in and whatnot. You know, I do love the production design in this. I think that the castle itself is really cool looking, and I like the kind of spells that animation that they did on Gandalf when he's kind of trying to break the spell and whatnot.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, the kind of middle section before he like takes down, because we get this kind of like horror sequence when we interact with Thrain for the first time, and it's kind of like he's like, you know, possessed and running around, and Gandalf cures him, and you know, we kind of have the like, so that whole sequence, while I do like it, is kind of like another one of those of like, okay, like, you know, let's kind of get through this, and once it gets to when the orcs actually are revealed and we get this, you know, interaction with you know, Sauron, and we actually get to see him like for real, like his, you know, at least his silhouette in fire and whatnot is very, very cool. I loved the way they had him speak. You'd mentioned that the voice actor would had to learn it all, speak it backwards, and then they would reverse it and add effects to it and whatnot, which was very, very cool. And yeah, just done really well. But yeah, there's a bit of like kind of exposition that happens between Thrain and Gandalf before the actual action starts. That's kind of like you know, like to me, but yeah, it doesn't ruin the movie or ruin the scenes for me at all.
All stuff from the extended edition too, so you know, it's really
right. I think that extended edition really kicks it up a notch.
Yeah, he's got his mic.
Yeah. Yeah, Dol Guldur. It's the design is great. It's dilapidated. There's vines. It's being reclaimed by nature.
They're just illusions. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's especially when Gandalf is looking at the tombs. It's just like visual confirmation of what the White Council was talking about in the previous films. Like, oh no, he can't get back. No, he's coming back. And yeah, that's you know, they can't ignore the proof. Obviously, and it's really cool to see such foreshadowing. You know, it's like, yeah, you have so many movies these days that are just like, yeah, they give you like a little teaser at the end of the movie, you know, like the little Marvel teaser for the next film.
Yeah.
But this is use of good foreshadowing.
Yeah, where it has like an entire like movie to build into it, and then this one solidifies it even more. And I love that.
Why you got to get us downvotes, Matt?
I'm
just kidding.
I'm just real, man.
But I love that conversation that he has with Beorn about it, where he's like, you know, I've heard that there was a necromancer spotted up in the mountains. Like, are there tombs up in those mountains? And then it's like it flashes over, and it's just like gives us a little bit of just like, yep, there was the king of Angmar was, or Agmar, or however you pronounce it, was
I believe it's Angkikmar.
was sealed up there and locked away, and then all of the bars are blown out, and he goes and checks for himself. It's like, fucking, this shit is going down.
That stuff is excellent. Like, it's like, it's things were rushed more so on this than Lord of the Rings, but it's like stuff like that just goes to show how hard they work to be like, what if we just cut to a scene where a bunch of guys are picking up a ring wraith, and like, I don't know, just, it's totally unnecessary. They could easily just have,
Well, and at that point, it looks like they have a human being in there. It's always fascinated me, like the process of which they go from being like a corporeal being to evolving into something that's not anymore.
Hell yeah. So Dol Guldur, I love it. When these films first came out, that was my favorite thing to look forward to throughout the whole thing, because it's in the appendices. It's detailed in the appendices, but it happens over a period of like 900 plus years. And so in the Hobbit trilogy just kind of condenses all of that and makes it all happen within this span. So Gandalf seems efficient. And it was a brilliant addition to the story. I agree with you about the Thrain scenes. They're definitely iffy in places,
and I think in the membrane.
And I think that's exactly why they cut them from the theatrical release, and we're just like, we'll make this for the fans.
Because the only scene that where they interact where I was just like, oh yeah, was when he holds up his hand. It's just like, they took it, and then he gets stolen away.
It's great for, like, just, I don't know, nerding out over like the rings and shit. But
why did Sauron take him though? Like, he physically took Thrain, like.
Not sure.
Yeah, because I don't know. Because he already has the ring, so it's like, why does he like possess Thrain and keep him around?
That's probably again why they cut it from the theatrical version.
Because
he's
Azog wants to like end the line of Durin.
So in the book it says Thrain's imprisoned in Dol Guldur and then killed there. So he's obviously imprisoned there as well. But why? For information, I guess.
Maybe,
I don't know.
Yeah. It's like,
I mean, neither the book nor the movie explains.
Some sort of like spell that allows them to bind to Thorin so they can track him better or something. But
write your own fan fiction. I don't know.
I will.
We arrive at Lake Town, which was originally going to be the start of the second film, There and Back Again, which I'm glad didn't happen. What do you guys think of Lake Town?
Okay, so I like Lake Town. I like how our characters get there, and it's like we get interact with guards, and then they have to hide in the barrels and get dumped with fish, and the actors get actual fish dumped onto them, which is hilarious. And then get our interactions and whatnot with them moving through the city. It kind of shows us how the city is kind of overrun by this corrupt government, and how they aren't they need to stay hidden, so they're crawling up into Bard's house through the toilet, and like the production design on the set there is incredible.
Lake Town is amazing. Like
I thought I was in Venice.
It's so good and well put together. Color grading on it is excellent. Cameo of Stephen Colbert.
Dude, we skipped over Peter Jackson's amazing cameo at the beginning of this.
He reprises his role as Carrot Man in Bree, and
it's hilarious. I definitely cheered.
Walks over and just
we forgot to mention in An Unexpected Journey, he cameos as a dwarf in Lake Town, who's running, or not in Lake Town.
In Dale, right?
Not in Dale, in Erebor, running out of the mountain, panicking.
Right.
Continue though, sorry.
But yeah, so I like it, but at the same time, it's kind of you know, the kind of the same thing as like you get into this point. It's like the movie's on. It's like, you know, it does a good job of getting to it where it's just like, we paid you money, where's our weapons? But then it's like, oh, it's bad weapons, and so they have to go and like, you know, break into the armory and whatnot later at night. But it all flows really well. And you know, Stephen Fry's character is excellent. You know, he's a national treasure.
Oh yeah.
Just not our national.
Yep.
But yeah, he's still great. And yeah, I like the scene. It's good. Mampton.
No, I definitely enjoyed all the mist, and just you kind of see how the descendants of Dale tried to recolonize in the wake of their devastation, and you know, this is what Ingenuity is born, as a whole city of people who can exist floating on the lake.
Yeah. Well, Lake Town was there before as well.
Oh, it was.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why he was like, this place was once the center of trade.
Yeah, the people of Dale went to Lake Town, but basically there's no economy anymore, and the area is dangerous. It's like Smaug. It's like literally.
He's been asleep.
Yeah, he's been asleep, but it's like he's still like
sketchy real estate.
Yeah.
Volcanoes erupt too, man.
They do.
It comes.
All right, we gotta move on though.
But volcanoes don't go. The damn lake.
I like how Bard kicks over the barrel like, this is Lake Town. Wow. Even though it took 2 guards to try to fake toss the fish over the side before that. So that's my only criticism on that scene.
Yeah, I noticed that too. So yeah, Lake Town. I love kind of how it lays out the politics of the city and slowly sets the foundation for the city's motivation for wanting to lay claim on the mountain and their struggles with what's going on. All stuff that, you know, people think is superfluous, but it's actually very well done. Truthfully, I think when we get to Lake Town, like, I basically have really no major issues with the movie. Like, I love all of Lake Town. Alfred, he's a new character. He's like the Lake Town's like assistant.
Counselor.
Yeah, he's basically the new Wormtongue, and I love him.
He goes overboard in the best fashion.
And so Bard is introduced, which is very important, because in the book, Bard's first scene is when he kills Smaug. And you can't do that in a movie. And so I think they do a great job of of like introducing him, and they kind of raise the stakes by like, your father Gideon tried to kill the dragon and messed up, and so there's a bit more weight to his like him needing to kill the dragon. And you know, he's just struggling with his family. He's just a fucking likable guy, likable action hero, and you know, he kind of has a similar road where it's like a reluctant king, and I think
he's kind of a Robin Hood kind of character.
Yeah, and I think again they differentiate him enough from Aragorn, where he doesn't just feel like
completely different.
Well, but I also love that Bard doesn't support their quest.
Yeah, he's willing to support them up until he finds out that they're gonna go and fuck with a dragon.
Well, at first it's just a job. He's like, you need into Lake Town.
Yeah,
sure,
exactly.
whatever.
And then it's just like, no, like once he's just like, oh my god, and he goes and like pulls the tapestry out, and it's just like, fuck, it was Thorin, shit, and it's just like, it's fucking too late already.
Also, different Black Arrow. I like that the Black Arrow is not just his lucky arrow. It's a giant fucking lance that needs to be shot.
He's always recovered.
So yeah, and then you got that classic scene where it's like, not if I kill him first.
Yep.
Hilarious. Okay, they travel to Schmaug. We get some amazing location shots.
We get to see Dale for the first time from our present perspective.
What up, Dale?
The stairs to climb the hill.
Yep.
And then we get to the Thrush Knocks.
Yeah.
And so yeah, Bilbo opens up the door, and
Any comments on this?
I mean,
overall, what do you guys think?
anything from there before they get into the?
Because it's a whole chapter them
Yeah.
at the door. So what do you think of
I
it?
thought the motivation of the dwarves, like leaving after it didn't work for 3 minutes, they break all their tools.
I know
and
they're
they
just
leave.
like bye.
I mean, the dwarves are very matter of fact in general.
Honestly,
but
it's a
like,
long quest too. The movies really don't do a good job of just portraying how long they've been on this quest.
Yeah,
Like,
it's just like you've come this
time
far.
wise, it's relative to the Lord of the Rings. Like it's a long fucking quest. It's actually longer, I think, because they go through a whole year. But anyways, go on.
Well, yeah, no, it was a very. It just makes Bilbo shine that much more because he's got patience and he actually reads things.
It
and
is a
thinks
nice
things
little
out.
Bilbo moment. He stays by. He still has hope, and yeah.
It's like, wait.
and
Just
it
kick
shows
this
like
key
the
off.
just cleverness of hobbits and whatnot that he just wasn't willing to give up at that moment, and yeah.
Well, he's a book reader, whereas dwarves aren't necessarily known for their reading skills.
They're known for their secret door skills.
Yeah, they got
That
secret.
building.
You
magic
can only
doors.
open it one day a year. The right time. It's like
You gotta have a key too.
what the fuck kind of door is this?
It's
That
a
really
back
pissed
door.
off
They don't
the
want
Do you
people
think it
sneaking-
ever happened where it's like, hey, it's almost Durin's Day, you gonna use that door? Nah. It's like, I don't even-
Dude was probably one of the dwarf lords that didn't want his parents to know that he was sneaking some people in the back.
But I mean, it was good that they thought of it.
So this is actually a controversial sequence for fans, because, surprisingly enough, because in the book, what happens is they arrive about 2 days early, and they get there and they try to bash it down and try to open it, and they forget about the whole light of the moon, stand by the greystone when the thrush knocks. They forget. Yeah, it's very dumb. And then when it happens, they remember. And so the last light happens from the sun. What happens is the sun sets, then the moon rises. I checked today. Sun sets, moon rises, and then there's like a flash of sun again while the moon is coming up that opens the keyhole. And this one just tweaked it to where it's the light of the moon shines the keyhole. And surprisingly enough, it really pissed off a lot of Tolkien purists.
Well, I mean, it would make sense from a storytelling perspective because it's the same type of moon, roughly, that they were looking at when they were in Rivendell.
Exactly. Yeah. That's how I feel. Okay. So he goes inside, and we finally, what the whole movie's been building to, seeing the mighty Smaug. What y'all think of Smaug?
he looked like a cat.
In the shitty version.
No. Smog is fucking amazing. This whole fucking in everything is amazing. We all bow to Benedict Cumberbatch.
I nerd out
He's the best
so
looking movie
fucking hard during these Smaug scenes.
Yeah,
They're so
he
good.
looks incredible.
Yeah.
He feels like the greatest of calamities. The interaction, like I have to compare it to the animated Hobbit, but like Frodo is so fucking Bilbo is so fucking confident in to Smog in the.
I
in
did
the
not
Rankin
come
Bass.
for presents.
It's just like, I am, but Barrel Rider, and Smog is just like, impressive title, and it's just like there's no semblance of like this creature is all fucking powerful fire breathing demon, and we have tiny little hobbit that is only alive because he has a magic invisibility.
Martin
ring.
Freeman perfectly captures like scared yet like pushing through it. Like he's perfect. Yeah.
And the scene is great. We because a lot of this could be like difficult to write for a screenplay.
It's
and
almost
whatnot.
they take almost everything in the book is in this scene, much like Riddles in the Dark. This one is it's like mostly Tolkien,
But they break it
I
up
hear what you're talking about.
with Smog's movements, and they give
the staging of it,
and they give Bilbo a goal of like finding the Arkenstone, and he finds it very very quickly into this interaction, and then his like character motivation from that point is to get that stone. And does he get it? We don't know.
Yeah, they kind of have a dance.
But yeah, there's this like dance that kind of is built around all of this Tolkien writing,
so
and it's
fucking
so
good.
good.
Are
It's one of the
hobbits
best.
known for their thieving skills.
What's that?
Are hobbits known for their like thieving skills?
No,
Not necessarily,
no.
but more along that they're just like easily unnoticed.
Oh, I was
Yeah.
gonna say because in other fantasy novels that I've read, they have other halflings comparable to hobbits that are just they're really really good thieves.
That's probably where they got the idea from, honestly. Okay, so Mampton, Schmog, thoughts on Schmog?
Schmog.
We need to hustle through this.
Favorite part, the eye. It's cat-like, but it also it's vertical, but it also has like a little. It's like a box, but elongated. It's
Diamond
shape.
shape,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's super cool. It's a super cool design.
Oh yeah.
And it's not as cat-like as the 1970s version.
They
But-
did in the behind the scenes. They said the tail is inspired by a cat.
I was gonna say he still has
Like the
He
movements.
still has feline type features. His head is still kind of shaped similar to a feline's, and his movements are very graceful. Not necessarily feline because he's flying around, but just they took the good parts of the design, I think, and they reworked it in a way that worked, even if he is a Wyvern.
Yeah. I don't know if that distinction was around at the time, but yeah, I think he works much better in that form. Okay, changes that from the book. Okay, in the book, Bilbo he visits Smaug, or he goes in the cave, steals a cup, runs back to the dwarves, and they're like, and then Smaug looks around, realizes the cup's gone, leaves the mountain, flies around. They hide in the mountain. Smaug eats their ponies. Yeah, they get their ponies up there, and then they're all trapped, kind of in Erebor, and they send Bilbo back again, and then they have their conversation. And I love this one so much more, where it all happens once. He goes and he visits Smaug, and at first Smaug's not there, and he gets a chance to explore, because their plan at this point is to get the Arkenstone, leave, and go get the Seven Armies, because once they get that jewel, they're good. And so it makes sense. They're no longer going to fight the dragon. They just fucking need to go get the Arkenstone. And I just love that it all plays out. Why would Bilbo go back? I like that Bilbo takes off the ring and shows himself to Smaug. He doesn't do that in the book. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I think it makes sense.
All right, so what do y'all think of the final big climax once Smaug gets really pissed off and the dwarves all go after him?
I love this sequence. I mean, it's very Peter Jackson,
Yeah.
over the top, lavish.
I mean, a dude
just-
throws a fucking wheelbarrow into a vat of gold lava and jumps inside of the barrel.
and rides it until the next room. Yeah, so
Highly impractical.
So
Try that at
it's
home.
definitely crazy, the rope sequence where Thorin's like falling and Smaug's chasing him down, and then he flies back up and they cut the rope and it fucking flies up to the top.
Martin Freeman in one of the interviews says Peter Jackson directs like someone playing with their toys who has no limits, and just like thinks of just doesn't matter. It's just like thinks of the craziest shit that can happen. And it's very true.
And so they get the forge reactivated, which is a cool scene. They have to like ignite it, and it all just like flows very, very well as they run into problems and then they solve it. And it's very impromptu, and it very much feels like how dwarves just how they've fought all the way up until this time, that they just know each other so well and they know, like, Thorin's just like giving, you know, orders to people on like, you know, individual levels, and even to Bilbo, who doesn't know how to do anything. He's like, when I give you the signal, you go and pull that lever, and like, you know, just like shows like that he is a good leader, and that he does know what he's doing and can think on his feet really quickly, and why these dwarves respect him so much. Because yeah, up until like this point, especially within the last like 20 minutes of the movie, he's kind of portrayed himself as like a, you know, kind of insane, and you know, like he kind of goes up and down throughout most of the movie. But here he's like, you know, when Bilbo's like, we got to get the fuck out of here, Smaug's awake, and he's like super pissed. He's like, you ain't allowed to go, where's that fucking Arkenstone?
Prelude of things to come.
You know, like, yeah. But yeah,
I agree.
Yes. Yeah, that final action sequence, it was crazy. You get to see dwarves in their natural element. They haven't worked these forges. It's been 60 years. Most of them haven't even ever been in this fucking mountain. You know, the younger ones haven't ever actually been to Erebor before, but they're running around like they own the place. As soon as they have a plan going, you know, they slip into that mode like you guys were talking about, where
Yep.
it's just a rhythm that they've learned from the quest that they've been on, and it kind of helps them to work together.
Dude, that's so fucking funny. Like, because you were saying like the style is impromptu and stuff, and yeah, it's one of the scenes that they didn't get a chance to like storyboard or do at all, and they just like planned on the day of shooting. And yeah, like Peter Jackson even says in the review, or in the behind the scenes, he's like, it's because of what I've learned in my years. Like, if I wasn't experienced, I wouldn't be able to do this. And yeah, it turned out to give it a different, based on what you're saying, like a different feel overall. Yeah.
And I like gold dragons, so that's cool.
Yeah, this sequence, the first time I saw the movie, I hated it. I did not like it at all the first time. Because, you know, I was fully on board with this trilogy, and I was open to scenes that weren't in the book. But, like, the first time I saw the movie, that one was too much for me. I was just like, man, seriously? Like, they fucking attack Smaug with all this shit? I don't know about that. And,
my battery's about to run out.
What?
Yeah, it's on red.
So we just gotta talk faster.
Alright, well, I hated it the first time, but I love it the second time. I realized, like he was saying, that the dwarves have to use their shit against people. We still didn't get a chance to talk about the general criticisms of this trilogy. We'll get to it in the third video, I promise.
Our batteries don't fucking last long. We're literally at the fucking end of our battery right
and
now.
yeah, we can't use the cell phone. The end of Desolation of Smaug is amazing when it's like, I am fire, I am death.
Fuck Ed Sheeran!
What have we done? Inside the mountain, I'm Ed Sheeran. And this song is about a girl. That's all I sing about is girls. I don't know how to sing about anything else, 'cause I'm Ed Sheeran and I'm unoriginal. Yeah, I'm Ed Sheeran and I'm unoriginal.